They said she was weak. They said a human had no place among wolves. But the night Alpha Marcus dragged Lily, completely defenseless, to the edge of Raven's Point, he didn't just break pack law. He started a war he couldn't finish. As she fell into the freezing river below, everyone thought her story was over. They were wrong. Fate doesn't die in the water. It washes up on the shores of the one man even monsters fear. This is the story of how a rejected human girl became a queen and brought an alpha king to his knees. The wind on top of Raven's Point didn't howl. It screamed. It tore through the thin dress Lily Chen was wearing, chilling her to the bone. Though the cold was nothing compared to the ice in Alpha Marcus's eyes. Lily stood at the precipice, jagged rocks below obscured by churning mist. Behind her stood elite members of the Crimson Veil Pack. To them, this wasn't an execution. It was taking out the trash. "Please," Lily whispered, voice cracking. She looked at Marcus, the man who'd been her childhood friend before he presented as Alpha, and she didn't present at all. "Marcus, you don't have to do this. I'll leave. I'll go to the human lands. Just let me walk away." Marcus stepped forward, heavy boots crunching on gravel. He was handsome in a cruel, sharp-edged way, his jaw set like granite. Next to him, clinging to his arm, was Natasha, a she-wolf with auburn fur and a smile that promised pain. "Walk away?" Marcus laughed, dark and hollow. "And let you spread rumors that Crimson Veil harbors defects? You're 23, Lily. No wolf, no scent, just a fragile human burden eating our food and taking up space." "She's an embarrassment, Marcus," Natasha added, running a manicured nail down the Alpha's bicep. The elders agreed. A human living in the Alpha's house weakens your standing. Lily's heart hammered against her ribs. She wasn't a stray. Her parents had been loyal pack warriors who died in the Great War. She'd been raised in the Alpha house out of obligation. But that obligation had apparently expired tonight. "I've served this pack," Lily argued, tears freezing on her cheeks. "I cooked your meals. I tended the wounded. I raised your sister, Marcus." Marcus flinched, just for a second. But the weakness was fleeting. He grabbed Lily by the arm, grip bruising. "And that's the only reason I'm giving you the mercy of the cliff rather than the claws of the enforcers. A quick drop. The river takes you. You vanish." He dragged her to the edge. The roar of water below was deafening. "Marcus, look at me!" she screamed, fighting his grip. "I'm a living being. You can't just—" "Goodbye, Lily," he muttered. He didn't shove her hard. It was almost dismissive, a casual push like one might discard an empty wrapper. Lily gasped as her feet left solid ground. The world tilted. The gray sky spun with dark rocks. She didn't scream. The air was stolen from her lungs by sheer velocity. Splash! The impact was like hitting concrete. Freezing water shattered her breath instantly, numbing her limbs. The current of the iron river was violent, grabbing her like a rag doll and pulling her under. Lily kicked, her human strength failing against the supernatural force. Darkness swarmed her vision. Her lungs burned. So this is it, she thought, her mind going fuzzy. Marcus wins. But as her consciousness faded, a spark of anger ignited in her chest. No, she wouldn't die. Not for him. Not for them. She kicked one last time, breaking the surface just long enough to gasp air before the current slammed her into a submerged log. Pain exploded in her shoulder. She grabbed the wood instinctively, clinging to it as the river carried her swiftly downstream, away from Crimson Veil and into territory marked on every map with black ink. The Obsidian Lands. The territory of Alpha King Dante Wolf, a man rumored to be more beast than wolf, a recluse who destroyed anyone who trespassed on his riverbanks. Lily lost track of time. The cold seeped into her marrow. Eventually, the river widened and slowed. The log drifted toward a rocky bank lined with towering ancient pines that blocked out moonlight. Her grip failed. She washed up onto smooth river stones, coughing water, body trembling so violently her teeth clacked together. She tried to crawl, find shelter, but her legs refused to move. She collapsed on wet stones, vision darkening. The last thing she heard before passing out was the snap of a twig. Not the wind. Steps. Someone was there. Lily woke to the sensation of something wet and rough scraping against her cheek. She groaned, her entire body feeling like one giant bruise. She forced her eyes open. Sun filtered through the dense canopy, casting dappled shadows. She wasn't on the river rocks anymore. She was on soft grass. Hovering over her was a wolf. Lily froze, breath hitching. It wasn't full grown, but a pup, though pup was generous. It was large, the size of a full-grown dog, with fur as black as pitch and eyes the color of molten gold. It licked her face again, whining softly. "Easy," Lily rasped, throat raw. She slowly pushed herself up to sitting. Her dress was torn and dried stiff with mud. The pup backed away, but didn't run. It sat on its haunches, watching her with unnervingly human intelligence. "Did you find me?" Lily whispered. The pup blinked. Then, to her shock, the air shimmered around it. Bones cracked and reformed. Fur retracted into skin. A moment later, a small boy stood before her, about 5 years old with messy black hair and those same piercing gold eyes. He wore nothing but torn shorts. He stared at her, face completely devoid of expression. "Hi," Lily said gently. "I'm Lily. Can you tell me where I am?" The boy didn't speak. He simply pointed toward the trees. "Are your parents nearby?" Lily asked, panic rising. The boy shook his head. He stepped closer, reaching out a hesitant hand to touch the bruise on her arm. His fingers were warm. Suddenly, a sound tore through the forest. A roar. Not human. Not just wolf. Pure, unadulterated rage. The ground vibrated. Birds scattered. The boy's eyes widened. He grabbed Lily's hand and pulled. "Wait, I can't." Lily tried to stand, but her ankle gave way. She cried out, falling back down. The bushes across the clearing exploded outward. A massive creature stepped through. Lily stopped breathing. It was the largest wolf she'd ever seen, standing nearly as tall as a horse at the shoulder. Its fur was void black, absorbing light. But it was the aura radiating from it that terrified her most. A heavy, suffocating pressure that made the air hard to breathe. This was an alpha. The Alpha King. Dante Wolf. The giant wolf snarled, lips pulling back to reveal fangs the length of daggers. His eyes were red, feral, lost to the wolf. He locked onto Lily. He crouched, muscles coiling to spring. He was going to tear her throat out. "No!" Lily screamed, shielding her face, but the strike didn't come. Lily peeked through her fingers. The little boy, the pup, had stepped between them. He stood tiny against the massive snarling beast, arms held out wide, shielding Lily's prone body. He didn't flinch as the Alpha King snapped his jaws inches from the boy's face. The giant wolf froze. A low growl rumbled in his chest, vibrating through the ground, but he didn't advance. He looked at the boy, then at Lily, then back at the boy. The red in the wolf's eyes flickered, fighting against a rim of gold. The boy stomped his foot. He pointed at Lily, then patted his own chest. "Mine," the gesture said. "She is mine." The Alpha King let out a huff of frustration. The terrifying pressure lessened slightly. The wolf looked at Lily with pure disdain, but he stepped back. The shifting began, violent and fast. Standing in place of the monster was a man who looked carved from marble and nightmares. Dante Wolf stood well over 6 feet tall, shirtless. His body was a map of scars. His hair was long and dark, sticking to his damp forehead. His face was brutally handsome, but his eyes were cold, hard flint. "You," Dante growled, voice deep and gravelly, sounding unused. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't gut you right now, human." Lily swallowed hard, trembling. I I washed up from the river. I didn't mean to trespass, Dante sneered. The river doesn't bring trash to my land unless I allow it. He took a step forward and Lily flinched. Immediately the boy growled, a tiny, high-pitched sound that stopped Dante in his tracks. Dante looked down at the child, his expression softening by a fraction. Ash, step aside. She smells like crimson veil. She's a spy. Ash shook his head vigorously. He turned to Lily, grabbed her hand again and squeezed. He looked up at his father, eyes pleading, though his mouth remained stubbornly shut. Dante ran a hand down his face, looking exhausted. You haven't spoken a word in 2 years, Ash. Not a single sound. And now you growl at your own father for a stray human. Ash nodded. Dante looked at Lily, gaze assessing, calculating. He likes you? I don't know why, and I don't like it. But Ash has never... He trailed off, looking at his son's hand clutching hers. He's never touched anyone since his mother died. Lily looked at the boy, heart aching. He saved me. He bought you time, Dante corrected coldly. You can't walk. My ankle, Lily whispered. Dante sighed, a sound of immense irritation. He walked over and before Lily could protest, scooped her up into his arms. He didn't hold her gently. He held her like a sack of grain. But he didn't hurt her. If you try anything, Dante whispered near her ear, sending shivers down her spine. If you're a spy, or if you hurt him, I won't just kill you. I will make you wish the fall had. I'm not a spy, Lily said, voice trembling, but firm. I'm a nobody. We'll see, Dante said. He looked down at Ash. Come. Ash trotted beside them, a small smile playing on his lips as he looked up at Lily. They walked through the forest in heavy silence. Lily rested her head against Dante's chest, exhausted. She could hear his heart beating. Slow, steady, powerful. He smelled of rain, pine, and something darker. They emerged from the tree line, and Lily gasped. The Alpha King's estate wasn't a house. It was a fortress, a massive structure of black stone and glass built into the mountainside, overlooking a valley that stretched forever. It was beautiful, intimidating, and lonely. Welcome to the Obsidian Pack, Dante muttered. Try not to die. 3 days. That was how long Lily had been confined to a guest room in the East Wing. The room was luxurious, far nicer than the servants' quarters at Crimson Vale. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked misty forest, a bed that felt like a cloud, a private bathroom with a tub deep enough to swim in. But the door was locked, from the outside. A healer, an older woman named Martha, with kind eyes but tight lips, had come to bind Lily's ankle and treat her bruises. She'd brought food, but refused to answer questions. On the morning of the 4th day, the lock clicked. Lily stood from the window seat. The door opened and Dante filled the frame. He wore a black shirt with sleeves rolled to reveal scarred forearms. He looked less feral than in the woods, but no less dangerous. You're healed? He stated. Mostly, Lily said, testing her ankle. It was stiff but held. Thank you for the medical attention. Don't thank me. Thank Ash, Dante said, crossing his arms. He's been sitting outside your door for 3 days. He refuses to eat unless I promise him you're safe. He refuses to sleep in his room, curling up on the hallway rug instead. Lily's eyes widened. Is he okay? Can I see him? Dante studied her, eyes narrowing. Why do you care? You don't know him. You're human. Wolves usually terrify your kind. I grew up in a pack, Lily said bitterly. I know wolves can be cruel, but Ash, he saved my life, and he looks lonely. Dante flinched. The word lonely seemed to strike a nerve. He stepped into the room, closing the distance. He sniffed the air near her. You have no scent, he murmured almost to himself. It's unsettling, like a ghost. I was born without a wolf, Lily said, looking down. That's why my alpha threw me off the cliff. I was a waste of space. Dante went still. Your alpha threw you? Lily nodded. Only a coward hurts those under his protection, Dante growled, flash of gold entering his eyes. And only a fool throws away something valuable. I'm not valuable, Lily whispered. My son thinks you are, Dante said. And that makes you the most valuable thing in this house. He turned toward the door. Come, Ash is waiting. Lily followed him into the hallway. True to Dante's words, Ash was sitting on the floor right outside, hugging his knees. When he saw Lily, his face lit up. He scrambled to his feet and ran to her, wrapping arms around her waist. Lily laughed, a genuine warm sound that echoed strangely in the silent hallway. She patted Ash's hair. Hi, buddy. I'm okay. Dante watched the interaction with profound confusion. He likes you, he muttered. He hates everyone. He bit the last nanny. Maybe he just needs to be listened to, Lily said softly, looking at the mute boy. He doesn't speak, Dante said harshly. Not since the fire that took his mother. He screams in his sleep, but he doesn't speak. Lily knelt to Ash's level. That's okay. We don't have to talk to understand each other, do we? Ash shook his head, smiling. You can stay, Dante announced abruptly. Lily looked up. What? You need a place to hide. Marcus thinks you're dead. If you go to human lands, you have nothing. Stay here. Be whatever this is. A companion for Ash. A nanny. You want me to work for you? I want my son to stop sleeping in the hallway, Dante corrected. I'll pay you. You'll have protection. But there are rules. He leaned down, face inches from hers. The intensity of his gaze made her dizzy. Rule 1, you don't leave the estate grounds. Rule 2, you don't speak to outsiders. Rule 3, you never, ever go into the West Wing. That's my territory. If I find you there, Ash's protection won't save you. I understand, Lily said. Good. Dante straightened. Martha will show you the schedule. Don't make me regret this. He turned and walked away, stride long and powerful. Lily watched him go, feeling a strange mixture of fear and fascination. He was a tyrant, a killer, a beast. But he loved his son enough to let a stray human into his home. She looked down at Ash. Well, looks like we're roommates. Ash beamed and pulled her toward the stairs. Weeks turned into months. The obsidian estate, once a tomb of silence and shadows, began to change. It was subtle at first, the smell of lavender soap in hallways, the sound of light footsteps on marble stairs, and most shockingly, the sound of a child's laughter. Lily had worked miracles with Ash. The boy who'd been a ghost in his own home was now vibrant, mischievous, shadowing Lily everywhere. She taught him to read in the library, baked cookies with him in the kitchen, and convinced him to shift into his pup form to play fetch in the garden. Dante Wolfe watched it all from his office window. He told himself he was just supervising, ensuring the human didn't break anything. But he found himself distracted during meetings, eyes drifting to the garden where Lily was chasing a black wolf pup, her brown hair flying loose in the wind. She was laughing. It was a sound that irritated him. Too bright, too alive. It made his chest ache with a hollow emptiness he'd tried to fill with violence and solitude for 3 years. She's good for the boy, Alpha, said Silas, his beta, a man with graying temples and a scar down his cheek. She's temporary, Dante grunted, turning from the window. Once Ash is stable, she leaves. Humans don't belong here. She doesn't act like a human, Silas noted. Most humans would be cowering. She looks at home. Dante didn't reply. He couldn't admit that when she walked into a room, the constant low-level rage of his wolf settled. It was maddening. That night, a storm rolled in, one of the violent mountain storms that shook the estate's foundations. Lily was tucking Ash into bed. The boy was trembling. his wolf hearing sensitive to thunder. "It's okay," Lily whispered, stroking his hair. "It's just the sky grumbling. It can't hurt you here. Your dad built this house strong." Ash clutched her hand, eyes wide. Eventually, exhaustion won, and he drifted into fitful sleep. Lily slipped out of his room, her own heart racing. The storm unsettled her. It reminded her of the freezing river, of water filling her lungs. She was heading back to her room when she heard it. A scream, not fear, agony. Raw and guttural, coming from the West Wing, the forbidden territory. Lily froze. Rule 3. Never go into the West Wing. She took a step toward her room. She should ignore it. She was just the nanny. Another scream tore through silence, followed by shattering glass. He's hurting. Without thinking, abandoning self-preservation, she turned and ran toward the heavy oak doors separating the wings. She pushed them open. The West Wing was dark, the only light from lightning flashing through uncurtained windows. The air was heavy with the scent of ozone and distress, a scent so thick it tasted like copper. She followed the noise to the master suite at the end of the hall. The door was ajar. Lily pushed it open and gasped. The room was destroyed. Furniture overturned, paintings slashed. In the center, amidst the wreckage, Dante Blackwood was on his knees. Shirtless, his back heaving. Deep, fresh claw marks scored his own chest. He was clawing at himself, fighting an invisible enemy. "Get out!" he roared at empty air, voice breaking. "Don't take her! Take me!" He was hallucinating, a waking nightmare. Lily knew she should run. An alpha in a trauma state was lethal. But she saw the blood running down his chest, the sheer desperation. "Dante?" she whispered. Dante's head snapped up. His eyes were glowing violently crimson. He didn't see Lily. He saw a threat. He snarled and launched himself at her. It happened so fast Lily didn't have time to scream. He pinned her against the wall, his hand closing around her throat. He wasn't squeezing enough to kill yet, but he was one twitch away from snapping her neck. "Dante, it's me!" Lily choked out, grabbing his wrist with both hands. His skin was burning hot. "It's Lily. Look at me. You're safe." "You took her," Dante hissed, voice distorted by his wolf. "You let her burn." "No," Lily said, forcing her voice steady despite terror. She reached up with one trembling hand and cupped his face. "I'm here. I'm Lily. Ash is Lily. You're safe, Dante. You're in your room." The contact seemed to shock him. He froze. The red in his eyes flickered. He sniffed her desperately, inhaling the scent of lavender soap and rain. "Lily," he rasped, the wolf receding. He blinked and the crimson faded to his natural stormy gray. He looked at his hand on her throat, then at her terrified face. He released her as if burned, stumbling back. "Get out," he breathed, turning his back. "I told you never to come here." "You're hurting yourself," Lily said, voice shaking. She didn't leave. Instead, she walked to the bathroom, grabbed a towel, wet it. She came back to him. "Sit down, Dante." "Did you hear me?" He growled, though there was no heat in it. He sounded broken. "I could have killed you." "But you didn't," she said softly. She knelt beside him. "Let me clean the scratches." Dante looked at her, truly looked at her, as if seeing her for the first time. He was the Alpha King, the most feared predator on the continent. No one dared order him. No one dared touch him when he was like this. But this human girl with bruises on her neck from his own hand was gently wiping blood from his chest. "Why?" he asked, voice rough. "Why didn't you run?" "Because everyone ran from me when I needed help," Lily said quietly, dabbing at a deep cut over his heart. "I know what it's like to drown, Dante. Even if you're drowning in a room full of air." Dante closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. For the first time in years, the noise in his head, the constant roaring of grief and guilt, went silent. My wife, he whispered, confession torn from him. She died in a fire. I couldn't get to her. I heard her screaming. Every time it storms, I hear it again. Lily's heart broke for the monster before her. She didn't offer platitudes. She just cleaned his wounds, her hand resting warmly against his skin. You're not alone anymore, she whispered. Dante opened his eyes. He reached out, his large hand covering hers against his chest. His thumb brushed her knuckles. The electricity that shot through him was terrifying. You should be afraid of me, he warned darkly. I am, she admitted, but I'm staying anyway. 2 weeks after the storm, Silas marched into the dining room, looking grave. He placed a heavy envelope embossed with gold on the table. The invitation for the Winter Solstice Gala, Silas announced. The council insists you attend this year, Alpha. They say your absence fuels rumors that the Obsidian Pack is weak. Dante growled, stabbing his steak. I hate the gala. And, Silas added, glancing at Lily, Crimson Veil Pack will be there. Alpha Marcus has been boasting about expanding his territory. Lily dropped her fork. It clattered loudly against china. Dante's eyes snapped to her. He saw blood drain from her face. Marcus is coming, Lily whispered. Yes, Silas said. He's bringing his new Luna. Lily felt sick. If Marcus sees me, I'm not going, Dante said flatly. And neither is Lily. You have to go, Silas argued. The Alpha King must bring a date, tradition. Dante looked at Lily. A dangerous idea formed in his eyes. Fine, Dante said, standing. I'll go. And Lily is coming with me. What? Lily and Silas shouted in unison. No. Lily stood, hands shaking. Dante, you can't. Marcus thinks I'm dead. If he sees me, he'll know I survived. He'll demand me back or try to kill me again. Let him try, Dante said, voice dropping to a lethal purr. You're under my protection now. I want him to see you. I want him to see that the trash he threw away is standing at the right hand of the king. I have no wolf, Lily reminded him. I have no rank. They'll eat me alive. It's a masquerade this year, Dante said, smirk touching his lips. Wear a mask. No one will know it's you until we decide they know. He stepped closer. You won't be Ash's nanny. Tonight, you'll be my guest. The night of the gala arrived. Martha had brought a dress that left Lily breathless. Midnight blue, so dark it looked black, made of silk that flowed like water. Lily stood before the mirror, hardly recognizing herself. She placed the silver mask over her eyes. It covered the upper half of her face, leaving her lips exposed. A knock came at the door. Enter, she said. Dante walked in and stopped dead. He was wearing a tuxedo fitted to his broad shoulders. He looked devastatingly handsome, like a prince from a dark fairy tale. He stared at Lily, pupils dilating. He walked a circle around her, air crackling with tension. You look, Dante started, voice rough. He cleared his throat. Acceptable. Lily smiled nervously. High praise from the king. He stepped closer, reaching out to adjust the strap of her dress. His fingers lingered on her bare shoulder. Stay by my side. If anyone touches you, I remove their hand. If anyone insults you, I remove their tongue. Understood? Yes, Alpha, she whispered. He offered his arm. Let's go start a war. The gala was held in neutral territory, a massive glass dome packed with alphas, betas, and lunas from every pack on the continent. When Dante Wolf entered, the room went silent. Music stopped. He walked in with Predator's grace, Lily on his arm. Heads turned, whispers erupted like wildfire. Who is she? Does she have a wolf? I can't smell her. Lily kept her head high, hand gripping Dante's bicep so hard her knuckles were white. Breathe, Dante murmured. You're the most powerful person in this room, because you're with me. They moved through the crowd. Dante was cold and dismissive to sycophants who tried to greet him. "Dance with me," he commanded. He pulled her onto the floor before she could protest, his hand on her waist possessive. As they moved to the waltz, Lily felt the world blur. For a moment, it was just them. The heat of his body, the way his gray eyes devoured her. Suddenly, a laugh cut through the air, a laugh Lily knew from nightmares. She stiffened. Dante felt it instantly. "He's here." Lily turned her head slightly. Near the buffet tables was Alpha Marcus, looking arrogant, laughing loudly. Hanging on his arm was Natasha, wearing gaudy red and enough diamonds to sink a ship. Marcus's eyes swept the room and landed on the couple dancing. He paused. He squinted. He didn't recognize Lily's face behind the mask, but he recognized something else. Her movement. Her hair. Marcus handed his drink to a waiter and began walking toward them. "Dante?" Lily whispered, panic rising. "Hold your ground," Dante ordered. He stopped dancing and turned to face the approaching Alpha. Marcus stopped 3 feet away. He bowed mockingly. "King Wolf, we didn't think the hermit of the mountains would descend for us common folk." "I enjoy the occasional circus," Dante said dryly. Marcus's eyes narrowed, shifting to Lily. He looked, her up and down with predatory leer. "And who is this? I don't smell a pack on her. In fact, I don't smell anything. Is she a doll you bought, Dante?" Dante's grip on Lily's waist tightened. "Careful, Marcus. You're speaking to my companion." "Companion?" Marcus laughed. "She has the posture of a servant. Take off the mask, darling. Let's see if the face matches the body." Marcus reached out, moving to snatch the mask from Lily's face. Dante caught Marcus's wrist mid-air. The sound of impact was like a gunshot. "Touch her," Dante whispered, voice vibrating with a low growl that shook floorboards. "And you lose the arm." The room went deathly silent. Marcus tried to pull back, but Dante's grip was iron. He grimaced in pain. "She's human, isn't she? Why is the Alpha King parading around with a pet?" "She's not a pet," Dante said, releasing Marcus with a shove that sent him stumbling. "She's the woman who saved my son, which makes her worth 10 of you." Natasha stepped forward, eyes narrowing. She studied Lily closely, the curve of her neck, the scar on her wrist from a childhood accident. Natasha's eyes went wide. She gasped. "It can't be," Natasha whispered. "Lily?" The name dropped like a stone into silence. Marcus froze. He looked at Lily again, horror and confusion dawning. Lily Chen." Lily slowly reached up and untied the ribbon of her mask. She let it fall to the floor. She looked Marcus dead in the eye. "Hello, Alpha? Surprised to see me dry?" The shock was palpable. "You're dead," Marcus stammered, face losing color. "I watched you fall. No one survives the Iron River in winter." "I did," Lily said, voice surprisingly steady. "And I found a pack that doesn't throw its family off cliffs." Marcus's shock morphed into rage. "You belong to Crimson Vale," Marcus snarled, stepping forward. "You're property of my pack. You're a runaway." "She was executed," Dante interjected, stepping between them. "You forfeited your claim the moment you pushed her. By wolf law, what the river takes belongs to the river, and the river runs through my land. She's mine. I demand her return." "Try to take her," Dante challenged, spreading his arms wide. A dark aura began to bleed off him, visible shadow of power that made lights flicker. "Right here, right now. Let's see who walks away." Marcus hesitated. He was arrogant, but not suicidal. "This isn't over," Marcus hissed. He grabbed Natasha's arm and stormed out, his pack scrambling to follow. The gala resumed, but everyone was looking at Lily with awe and fear. "Let's go," Dante muttered. "The air here stinks of cowardice." The drive back was silent. Lily stared out the window, adrenaline crashing. When they arrived, Dante didn't go to his office. He followed her to her room. "You were brave tonight," he said, standing in her doorway. "I was terrified," Lily said. "Marcus won't stop. He'll come for me." "Let him come," Dante said. He walked into the room, closing the door. The lock clicked. Lily's breath hitched. "Dante!" He crossed the room and stopped inches from her. "He called you his property," Dante growled low. It made me want to tear his throat out. "I'm just a nanny," Lily whispered, looking up at him. "I'm just human." "Stop saying that," Dante said roughly. He reached out, hand cupping her cheek, thumb tracing her bottom lip. "You're the only thing in this world that makes the silence bearable. You're the only one Ash trusts. And tonight, when you stood up to him, you looked like a queen." Lily's heart pounded. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Dante murmured, leaning down, forehead resting against hers, "that I'm tired of pretending I don't want you." He kissed her, hungry, desperate, possessive. It tasted of champagne and danger. Lily gasped, hands tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. But the moment shattered by the sound of sirens. The pack alarm, a high-pitched howl signaling perimeter breach. Dante pulled back, eyes instantly shifting to wolf gold. He cursed. "Marcus didn't wait." "He's here?" Lily gasped. "He brought help," Dante said, tilting his head, listening to sounds Lily couldn't hear. "Mercenaries. Rogues. A lot of them." He grabbed Lily's shoulders. "Listen, you go to Ash. Take him to the panic room in the cellar. Don't come out until I open the door. Understand?" "What about you?" Lily cried, grabbing his lapels. "I'm going to end this," Dante said with terrifying calm. He kissed her one last time, hard, quick, like a promise. "Go!" Lily ran. She tore off her heels and sprinted toward Ash's room. She burst in. Ash was already awake, sitting up in bed, eyes wide with fear. "Ash, come on," Lily said, grabbing his hand. "We have to hide. The cellar. Now." They ran through corridors. Outside, sounds of battle erupted, snarls, gunshots, tearing metal. They reached the heavy steel door of the panic room. Lily shoved Ash inside. But before she could step in, a shadow detached from darkness. A hand grabbed Lily's hair and yanked her back. She screamed, falling hard onto stone floor. Standing over her was Marcus. He was covered in mud, holding a gun. He'd bypassed the main fight, sneaking in while his mercenaries distracted Dante. "Did you really think I'd let you live?" Marcus sneered. "You know too much. And now you've humiliated me." Ash screamed, a silent, open-mouthed cry, and tried to run to her. "Stay back, Ash!" Lily yelled. She kicked at Marcus, but he stomped on her leg. Pain exploded. "Say goodbye, Lily," Marcus said, raising the pistol. Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. Suddenly, a small, black blur launched from the panic room. It wasn't a boy. It was a wolf, a small black wolf pup. Ash bit Marcus's calf with all the force his young jaws could muster. "Ah!" Marcus shouted, startled. He kicked Ash, sending the small wolf flying into the wall. Ash hit with a sickening thud and didn't move. "No!" Lily screamed. Rage, hot and blinding, flooded her veins. She wasn't a wolf. She didn't have claws. But she had a silver letter opener she'd grabbed from the desk while running. As Marcus aimed the gun at the unconscious pup, Lily launched herself up. She didn't go for the gun. She jammed the letter opener deep into Marcus's thigh. Marcus roared, dropping the gun. He backhanded Lily, sending her sprawling. He loomed over her, eyes murderous. Then the wall behind Marcus exploded. It didn't just break. It disintegrated. Stone and drywall turned to dust as a massive black shape plowed through. Dante had arrived. And he wasn't just angry. He was insane. He saw Lily bleeding on the floor. He saw his son unconscious against the wall. The sound that came out of Dante wasn't a roar. It was world-ending destruction. The giant black wolf lunged, jaws clamping around Marcus's shoulder. He lifted the other alpha into the air and slammed him into the floor, shaking him like a rag doll. Bones snapped. Marcus screamed. "Dante, stop! Ash needs help!" Lily screamed, crawling toward the boy. The Alpha King froze. He dropped the mangled but alive body of Marcus. He looked at Lily, eyes wild, covered in blood. He shifted back to human form, naked and blood-soaked, and fell to his knees beside Ash. "Ash!" Dante choked out. Ash groaned. His small wolf form shimmered and returned to a boy. He blinked his eyes open. Then, looking at Lily, Ash opened his mouth. "Mama," he croaked. It was the first word he'd spoken in 2 years. Dante froze. He looked at his son, then at Lily, tears streaming down his face. "He spoke," Dante whispered. "He called you Mama." He looked at Lily with reverence that shook her soul. "I'm here," Lily sobbed, pulling both the Alpha King and his pup into her arms. The dawn that broke over the obsidian estate was quiet. In the infirmary, Lily sat up in bed, wincing as she shifted her bandaged leg. "Careful," a small voice said. Lily looked down. Ash was sitting in the chair, holding a glass of water. "Thank you, Ash." She smiled, tears pricking her eyes. It was still a miracle to hear his voice. "Dad says you need rest," Ash said seriously. "He says you fought like a warrior." "A warrior, huh?" Lily chuckled. The door opened and Dante walked in. He looked weary, but the feral edge was gone from his eyes. "Ash, give us a minute," Dante said gently. Ash nodded, kissed Lily's hand, a gesture clearly learned from his father, and scampered out. Dante pulled the chair closer and sat. "Marcus?" Lily asked. "Alive," Dante said, voice devoid of mercy. "Death would be too easy. He's in the deepest cell beneath the mountain. I stripped him of his alpha status. His wolf has gone dormant from shame. He'll spend the rest of his life in the dark, remembering that a human girl defeated him." Lily let out a breath. "And Crimson Veil?" "Disbanded," Dante stated. "I absorbed their lands. The innocent will be integrated." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily's heart skipped. "Last night," Dante started, looking at his hands, "Ash called you Mama. In our world, a pup's instinct is absolute. He chose you as his mother before I even had the chance to claim you as my mate." "Dante, I'm human," Lily said softly. "I can't be a Luna." "The Council is terrified of me," Dante interrupted with a dark smirk. "And after they heard how you fought to save my heir, they're terrified of you, too." He opened the box. Inside wasn't a diamond. It was a ring made of black obsidian, inlaid with meteorite iron. The same metal from the river that had almost killed her. "You fell into my river," Dante said, voice dropping to a whisper. "You washed up on my shore. Fate tried to drown you, but it brought you to me instead. I don't care that you don't have a wolf, Lily. You have the heart of a queen." He took her hand and slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "Lily Chen, will you stay? Not as a nanny, not as a guest, but as my wife, my Luna, my partner?" Lily looked at the dark ring, then up into the gray eyes of the man who'd looked at her like she was the sun in his dark world. "Yes," she whispered. Dante didn't wait. He leaned in and kissed her, sealing the promise. Weeks later, the coronation was held. It was unprecedented. A human sitting on the throne of the Obsidian Pack. But as Lily sat there wearing a gown of silver silk, with Dante standing tall and proud beside her, and Ash leaning against her knee, no one dared object. She wasn't weak. She wasn't trash. She was the girl who survived the fall, tamed the beast and became a queen. She was the human Luna, and long would she reign.